This is what I call God's country. Well, we made it to the top, and holy cow, this is the top of the world, man. A beautiful little lake. Beautiful lake. We're probably 3/4 of the way up now. All right, so just before I go for a chicken hunt, I was laying in bed last night and reviewing some of my video, just looking at some of the footage I've taken and whatnot, and I went into my notes and had a look at a couple of the emails that I've been sent in, and just sort of seeing how many more I've got to read out to everybody. And anyways, there was one that was sent in like quite a while ago, and when I got home, it would have been the next one on in my list to read. And so anyways, I glanced through it a bit, and I was pretty intrigued. And I didn't read very much of it because I was starting to get frickin' scared. I was like, oh, don't read this. Wait till tomorrow. But so anyways, I thought, you know what? I know I said I wasn't really probably gonna read any emails on this trip, but before I go for my walk, this one's worthy. This one really caught my attention. So on go the glasses for the impatient people of the world. And let's read this email. Good morning, Darren. My name is Evelyn Hunt, and I'm 68 years old this coming November 20th. I watch a couple channels on YouTube that discuss Bigfoot, but there aren't many that tell people's stories just as they happen. I have talked openly now for several years about my interactions with the Bigfoot people, but everyone in my community already knows about them, and many have had their own experiences over the years. I've decided to share my knowledge of these people with you because after watching your videos, I do feel confident that you will read what I have written and not embellish or add anything to make it sound better. My first encounter with these people goes back to when I was 11 years old. I was berry picking not far from the house, as my mother only allowed us kids to go to certain spots and none of them very far from home. The Bigfoot people have been part of our culture for as long as I can remember. I'd heard stories from elders and warnings from them to stay away from certain areas where these people frequent. You recently read an email from a young man that was dip net fishing the river and came across a Bigfoot. Our people were told the same thing about the rivers when the salmon were there. Be careful where you fish, and if you ever see a Bigfoot there, don't go back. Anyways, I was picking berries with my two cousins when I heard some branches breaking and something walking towards me. I thought it might be one of my cousins, so I just stared in that direction. I kept hearing footsteps, so I called out to Mary and Frank, but they didn't answer. Just then, I heard a mumbling, talking sound, but I couldn't understand it or make it out. I don't know why, but I started walking towards the sound. And then I saw it. It was a female Bigfoot, squatted down in a berry patch, looking right at me. I was terrified, and I tried to scream, but I couldn't make a noise, and I couldn't move my body. I just stood there and stared at her as she stared right into my eyes. All of a sudden, she made a loud popping sound and stood up and pointed behind me. I was able to slowly turn my head and look behind me, but there was nothing there. I turned back towards her, and she was gone. I never heard anything, but she was gone. I was crying now and looked all around, but she was nowhere to be seen. Then I heard more of the garbled talk, like the first time, but this time it was a ways away from me. At that moment, I heard a voice in my head that said, "Go home now." I started running the trail back towards the house, calling for my cousins, and they came running down the hill towards me and said, "What's wrong, Evelyn? Why are you crying? Are you hurt?" I said to them, "We have to go home now, right now." On the way home, Frank asked where my bucket was. I said, "I don't know." He said, "I will go back and get it." And I yelled, "No, Frank. She told me to go home now, so we have to go." We were walking at a fast pace now, and Mary said, "Who told you to go home, Ev?" I said the Bigfoot lady was there eating berries. Both Mary and Frank were scared now too, and we got home pretty fast. My mother was outside and saw us running down the road, so she came running up to me and asked what happened. I was still crying when I told Mom I saw a Bigfoot. Mom grabbed me and Mary and Frank around the shoulders and led us into the house. Once we were inside, I told Mom exactly what happened, and she listened without saying anything. When I was done, Mom said, "You did the right thing by leaving." Mom asked me if the Bigfoot actually spoke to me and told me to go home. I said it was in my head, Mom, but it sounded like a real woman's voice. Mom kept a close eye on me for a while after that, and most places that I went, she went with me. My father asked me all the time, what did she look like? How big was she? He also asked me many times if I looked into her eyes. I never lied to my parents, so I told my father I did look in her eyes when she pointed at me. I was only 11 years old at the time, so I said to Father that she was very big and mostly hairy, except for some of her face, her hands, and her chest. That's how I knew it was a female Bigfoot, was by her breasts. I asked my father if he had ever seen one of them, and he said no, he hadn't, but that his father had seen one and told him about it when he was a young man. I was scared to go in the woods alone after that, and I really didn't even want to go with Mom or Dad. But Mom said that the Bigfoot was just eating, and if she wanted to harm you, she would have. Well, about 2 weeks later, I was in bed, and I heard the same garbled talking sound in the woods outside my bedroom window. I just laid in bed, and again, I couldn't call for Mom or Dad. I heard it again and again, so I sat up in bed and looked out the window, but it was too dark to see anything. Then I heard the voice in my head again. "You're safe, don't fear us." It was the same woman's voice I had heard when we were berry picking. Just then, I was able to scream for my father. He came running into my room, sat on my bed, and gave me a hug. He said, "It's okay, Ev, it was just a dream." I said, "No, it wasn't. The Bigfoot was back outside my window. She told me I'm safe, but I don't feel safe. I feel scared." My parents and I met with one of the community elders the next day, and Mom and Dad asked me to tell him exactly what had happened. He said to me, "Don't worry, you are safe. She has chosen you as a listener, and you need to listen and not fear her." My mother took me home when we were done, and Father stayed to talk more with the elder. When he got home, we talked some more, and my father said, "I don't need to be afraid anymore. Be wise and be careful, but this particular Bigfoot meant you no harm." I carried all this with me for many years and never had another experience until I was in my early 20s. I was walking home late one evening and I heard a very loud bang in the woods beside the road. I stopped and shined my flashlight, but couldn't see or hear anything. Just as I started to walk again, I heard a gentle moaning sound, and at that exact moment I heard the voice again, straight home. The strange thing with this time is I didn't feel scared. I turned and walked home. The next day when I went to see my parents, I told them about last night. Mom was a little worried, but my father said they're just keeping an eye on you for some reason. I won't go into all the experiences I've had, as this would take too much of your time, but there's been many over the past 40 years that I had encounters with them. Sometimes just sounds, and other times I'd see them, but only briefly. I'm not saying that all Bigfoot are good. I honestly don't even know if any of them are. I don't really understand why the elder said I've been chosen as the listener. After all these years, I still don't know what that meant. There's been times in my life when I was walking somewhere and I could feel like there's something right there with me, watching me, but I couldn't see it. Other times, I'd feel nothing, but I'd glance in the bush on the side of the road or on the side of a river and see one staring straight back at me. There was this one other time that we were having a community potluck dinner, and there was a big fire going at the back of our community center. I was sitting by the fire with some friends, and I heard a whistle in the forest at the edge of the field. It was dusk, but not too dark to see, so I walked away from the fire and was looking to the forest when I saw two of them, clear as day, just inside the trees, staring at me. I stood and watched them, and then all of a sudden my friend called out, and they vanished. I could go on for hours, but I won't. I will likely never understand what these beings want with me, but I have had more than my share of experiences with them. I know what our culture says, and that's all I have for now, but part of me feels like there's so much more. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you, Darren. And if you want to share it with others, that's fine by me. I've included my phone number if you'd ever like to talk sometime. Maybe I can tell you some of the other times I have interacted with the Bigfoot. I've gone through these people. Take care of yourself. So I think I've gone through with these people. Take care of yourself, Evelyn. Yeah. Good thing I didn't read that all out last night. I'm assuming I never really like to assume anything, but I'm assuming that Evelyn must be First Nations, possibly, probably. Just talking about her culture and the relation to that man that was dip netting the fish that ran into one. But holy shit, at 11 years old. Wow. What a horrifying thing to go through at 11 years old. You know, because at 11 years old, you don't understand much of anything. At 11 years old, they're the boogeyman. They're the monster in your closet, right? Like, but I guess maybe in the First Nations culture, if it's discussed, if it's talked about when they're young, maybe the kids aren't quite as scared. I don't know. But I'm going to reach out to you, Evelyn, and I'd love to chat with you more about that. Thank you so much for sending that in to us. And anything that comes in, if people give me the permission to share it with all of you, I'm going to share it. So thanks again. I really appreciate it, Evelyn. I will reach out to you. I'd like to hear more. You know, are you still having encounters, or is it all gone quiet now? Or you know, there's lots of questions. So bear with me. I will find the time to reach out to you. I've got a bunch of people I need to contact when I get home and talk with and everything. So, and you're one of them. So anyways, thanks for being strong, courageous, and sending that through to us. Appreciate it. And I hope everybody's safe. I'm safe, but I'm starving to death. I'm hungry. So I'm gonna go out and see if I can't find myself a chicken or something. I need some food. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. No more emails, because I know I'm going to be thinking about that tonight. And I only sleep a few hours a night to begin with, so anyways. Okay, I'm out of here. We'll catch you later.